When I first met Alex, he wasn't wearing a suit, driving a Bentley, or flashing his family name like a badge of superiority. He was wearing a hoodie, eating noodles from a street stall, and debating me about Nietzsche in a philosophy class at NYU. I didn't know then that he was the only son of Charles Whitmore, billionaire CEO of Whitmore Global Holdings. To me, he was just Alex, the guy who held my hand when I cried after my internship rejection, who cooked for me during finals, and who swore he wanted a future where we built our lives, not just inherited them. We were together for 2 years before I met his family. He'd always deflected. "My father's old school," he said once. "Mom's okay, but she's stuck in the 1950s when it comes to relationships." Still, after years of love, after he whispered that he wanted me to move in, after we talked about rings and kids, I pushed. "I need to meet them, Alex. I won't be your secret." He agreed. A dinner at his family estate in the Hamptons. I wore my best dress, simple but elegant, my hair in a neat chignon, neutral heels. I'd even rehearsed polite banter about hedge funds and IPOs, even though I worked at a startup that built AI tools for small businesses. I was nervous, but hopeful. The Whitmore estate was less a house, more a museum. Marble everywhere, glass sculptures imported from Italy, art that likely cost more than my yearly salary. Alex squeezed my hand as the butler opened the massive oak doors. "Relax," he whispered. Charles Whitmore stood at the head of the long dining table, impeccably dressed in a dark gray suit, no tie, silver cufflinks. His wife, Annabelle, looked like a fashion ad from Vogue, icy, poised, perfect. They were civil at first. Charles asked where I worked. I proudly explained my role at Logic Loop, our SaaS platform helping minority-owned businesses streamline logistics with AI. He raised an eyebrow. "So not in finance, law, or medicine?" "No," I smiled. "Tech. And your parents?" he asked. "What do they do?" "My father's a retired mechanic. My mother teaches second grade." That's when the ice cracked. He smirked. "Blue-collar roots. You must be a charity case." I felt my face heat up, but I kept my tone calm. "I won a full scholarship, actually." He sipped his wine and chuckled. "Interesting. Garbage can polish itself to shine, but at the end of the day, it's still garbage." Silence. I blinked. Annabelle didn't react. She cut her steak, unfazed. Alex paled. "Dad," he whispered, eyes wide. "Don't." But the damage was done. He called me garbage. I stood, face calm, heart raging. "I appreciate dinner," I said, "but I won't be insulted in a house that thinks compassion is weakness." Alex tried to follow me out. I stopped him with a look. "We'll talk later." Alone. I walked out of that mansion with my back straight and my pride intact. 1 week later, heartbroken, humiliated, I buried myself in work. I didn't answer Alex's calls. I didn't cry, not even once. Instead, I did something better. I remembered something. 2 weeks prior, our startup had been approached for a potential acquisition. A firm wanted to buy our technology and integrate it into their global logistics platform. The firm? Whitmore Global Holdings. They didn't know I was part of Logic Loop. I was in charge of our data infrastructure, quiet, behind the scenes. The man representing them was none other than Charles Whitmore himself. He had no clue I was the girl he'd humiliated over lobster and wine. And now I had power. I asked our CEO, Dev, to let me sit in on the due diligence meetings. I said I wanted to understand the future of the tech I helped build. He agreed. So when Charles Whitmore entered the Logic Loop boardroom, he didn't recognize me in my tailored blazer, sleek hair, and polished demeanor. He pitched, condescended slightly, assuming no one in the room could challenge him on the technical details. That was his first mistake. "I don't think your platform can scale with our AI structure," he said once. "Actually," I replied calmly, "your infrastructure is 2 years behind ours, and your predictive analytics model has a 12% bias error in urban clusters. Our code resolves that." He blinked. "I'm sorry, and you are?" "Claire," I said, "Director of Data Architecture." A flicker of recognition crossed his face. His lips parted, but no words came. I smiled. You called me garbage last week." The room froze. My CEO turned toward me, confused. I continued before anyone could interrupt. "Mr. Whitmore, you insulted me at your dinner table. Because I wasn't born into wealth. Because my parents work for a living. Because you judged me without knowing who I am or what I've built." He looked like he wanted to speak. I didn't let him. "But here's the twist. I built the AI that your acquisition hinges on. And now, I'm recommending we decline the offer." "Claire," Dev said gently, "let's be rational." I turned to him. He wants our innovation to make his company billions. But his leadership style, his ego, will kill the spirit of everything we've built. He sees people as trash unless they wear money. That's not who we are. The boardroom voted that afternoon. Offer declined. Alex came to my apartment that night. He didn't yell. He didn't beg. He just looked sad. "My dad pulled the deal," he said. "And then he found out it was you. He's livid. Says I let a street rat into the palace." I stared at him. "And what did you say?" "I told him the rat had claws." I smiled faintly. Too little, too late. I never saw him for who he was. I didn't think he'd go that far. But he did. And you let him. He looked down. "I love you. And I loved you. But you watched me get humiliated at your family's table. You let him say I was garbage." I froze. "You chose." I cut in. "And I'm choosing, too. I'm choosing to build a life without people who see me as less." He nodded, eyes wet. "I get it. I'm sorry." I closed the door behind him. 1 year later, Logic Loop's valuation tripled after we partnered with a rival firm. I now lead a global initiative training underrepresented youth in tech. And Charles Whitmore? His company's value plummeted after several deals fell through. Rumors circulated of outdated systems, internal bias scandals, and a toxic work culture. Turns out, building an empire while stomping on people isn't sustainable. Last I heard, he retired early. No farewell gala. Just silence. Me? I'm still garbage, apparently. Polished, gleaming, sharp-edged. The kind of garbage that burns billion-dollar deals to the ground and walks away smiling. Because in a world where men like Charles Whitmore write rules in boardrooms and rewrite them at dinner tables, I learned something invaluable. Power doesn't come from money. It comes from knowing who you are, especially when someone tries to define you. It comes from standing when you're expected to shrink, from speaking when you're told to stay silent, and it comes from turning an insult into an empire. They call me garbage. But garbage is what people throw away, without realizing its worth. And I recycled every insult, every slight, every ounce of pain, and built something priceless from it. Now I sit at my own table, and I never, ever apologize for the seat I took.